Everybody, welcome back to another episode of It Is What It Is podcast. I am your host, Cody Kelly. I appreciate you so much for tuning in to this amazing episode. But if you want to continue to see amazing influencers like I have on today, a true bona fide leader I'm talking about will change the world. And Shinjini, aka Shinji, aka the next great CEO that is going to change everything for everybody. She's absolutely amazing. You got to do two things. You got to connect with me on Instagram at CVMK33, and you got to support us, follow us, subscribe on YouTube at CV Space K. And the cool thing is it's free. It doesn't cost you anything to do the two things that I told you, but it helps pay the bills and it helps me continue to do the things that I love to do. With that being said, we have an amazing leader, an amazing influencer, and we're discussing really the challenges of being a go-getter, because when you are a go-getter, you will be hit with all types of obstacles. So I reached out to the best go-getter that I know, somebody who's actually really going and getting it, Shinji. And with that being said, I'll turn up to you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Cody. I am just so excited to be here. I mentioned to you that I was not doing podcasts, but when you reached out, I was like, you know what, he's a go-getter, and I think that is why I'm here. So thank you.
Yeah, anytime. I appreciate it. I know you have ascended to new heights, and for us little peons, we don't always get access. Being on my show has been absolutely just amazing. It's touched me, and I thank you for it. So my first question, people sometimes make it seem easy. You get on Facebook, you get on Instagram, YouTube, and it's like, you just got to work hard. You get all this stuff, and it's hard to separate it from truth. It's hard to be like, is this real? Do they know how I feel? Right? Because your feelings affect your performance, and they do. Yeah. So talk to us. Like, how do you deal with the feelings of trying to be a go-getter?
Yeah. No, and I think one thing that's like very prevalent in my demographic, Cody, is this idea of like, am I enough? I think that comes up again and again in our content on, Speaker Shinjini's media platform. We're at 500,000 go-getters strong plus across all social media platforms. That comes up a lot. Am I enough? Is what I'm doing enough? Am I the best employee that I can be? Am I the best CEO? Am I the best mom? And I think one thing that I'm such a fan of, Cody, and I think it comes from my background as an industrial engineer from Georgia Tech, is metrics. So what are your goals today? And guess what? I think I always tell myself, like, I'm not going to be able to accomplish more than that today. So I think I struggle less with the idea of am I enough, because there are clear parameters that I set for myself every single day. And so, I either hit them or I don't. Really, there are two options. There are only two options. And so, if I don't hit them, obviously I have some more work to do tomorrow. Right. And if I hit them, then, I'm probably taking off tomorrow, So I think for me, that is a huge dilemma in my demographic. And I think the way that I've solved it for myself has been to put in very, very hard sort of parameters, So I think that's one. And you do, like, you feel like, am I enough or am I not enough? And I think that's a big one. And I think another big one is sort of a big one, Cody, which I guess I didn't realize so much coming into it, but a lot of people don't know what their goals are. And so when I come in and say, be a go-getter, let's get motivated, let's go get your goals, some people come back to me and say, what are my goals? And that's a huge question. It's an existential question, because I can't really tell you what your goals are. I'm not you, and so I think that's like a very difficult question for someone else to answer for you. So I think those two are probably two of the biggest ones, Cody. Of course, there's others. Right. But in terms of like mental retail space, I would say that those two probably take up the majority of those feelings, No,
I like it. You mentioned, knowing your goals and understanding the analytics behind it. So, Shinjini, so you shared with me, you said, to your surprise, the actual data suggests that the majority of your audience, what's actually feeding your consumer base, are men.
Yes.
Was that a shock to you?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I absolutely, because if you look at the majority of the female sort of motivational speakers, female artists, I don't know, singers, dancers, I mean, their vast majority of their audience is female. So the sort of pop stars of the world, the female motivational speakers of the world, their audiences are female because women feel oppressed by the patriarchy and they need more motivation, help, guidance, cookies, makeup, all the things, right? And it makes perfect sense. Like even from an analytical perspective, it makes perfect sense. Like I'm not sitting here questioning like why women need motivation. I know exactly why women need motivation, and so and to be honest, I was excited to fill that niche. I was excited to fill that gap. But no, I wasn't writing to men. I was not writing for men. I mean, you look at how my content is structured, it's very feminine. I mean, it's a lot of emojis, it's hearts, it's, sometimes it's babe. And like the guys think I'm saying babe to them. So, I mean, it's one of those things where honestly,
Yeah.
my eyes have been opened, Cody, to a new market. I don't want to say that I'm surprised or that I'm upset because the truth is, I think my eyes have been open to a vastly untapped media market. Not even vastly, I would say completely untapped media market. And so, I think the market has decided and this is what they decided. Now, I'm not saying that in the future we will not be majority female. That could very well happen. But I always look at how we started, and I look at our foundation, and I look at sort of who was our earliest adopter. And our earliest adopters were actually kind of 50-50, I would say 50-50 men and women. And then men have since surpassed women in our audience profile. As we're sort of building this media company, motivational media company to motivate go-getters to make that first move to go get their goals. Also, when people see the word go-getter, men naturally identify with it more. So I don't know, I guess I'm at the point where it is weird, but it's also like making my business case very, very strong. That when you see that word, you automatically think it is male. Right. And I think part of why I'm here is to change how we think about the word go-getter, to make it applicable to young women, to young girls. So I don't know. On one hand, like, yes, it's weird. But on the other hand, if you think about it, men interact with women all the time. So it's like you empower one demographic, you motivate one demographic, and a lot of their partners are female, their wives are female, their girlfriends are female. I mean, so it's not like I'm only motivating men, it is not a mutually exclusive situation. So does that make sense? But yes,
No, no.
numbers wise, I'm off the chain male, but it's actually not as weird as you would think because let's put it this way, where men go, women go. Not all women, but at least if you're straight, that's where women go.
Right.
Where women go, that's where straight men go. So it's very like you get one, you get the other.
No, I like that. I like the understanding that everything is not mutually exclusive. By allowing it to play out, the marketplace will create the ideal persona and customer, right?
Exactly. Yes.
And you mentioned it was weird at first. It's kind of just full of transparency. Like, when I'm doing this, I thought the vast majority of my audience would be, men. And then I started to figure out men don't even watch my. I'm sure there's some. I'm sure my brother watches my show, but for the most part, men don't really chime in. And you start realizing that just because your message isn't tailored toward a certain group doesn't mean that it doesn't penetrate that group more efficiently, right?
Totally.
The content really kind of decides who grabs hold and who really nurtures around it.
Yeah.
And allowing the marketplace to determine that value. How comfortable are you with allowing the sheer analytics make the decision for you? Because, you know, we live in a data age, and as much as we like to say we depend on data, if we just be honest with us, a lot of people rather trust their gut feeling against or adversely toward the data, right? Was it, I mean, are you so sold on data because it's empirically unbiased? I mean, what allows you to just trust the data?
Totally. Well, I mean, to be honest, you know, I had a fight kind of with myself about it, because I think the data should show that we are majority female, because my messaging is female. I'm a female. Frankly, I speak to the female experience a lot, because, by the way, I've never been a male. So how will I speak to the male experience? So, I mean, I wrestled with that a lot, that the data should show that we are predominantly female, that my messaging is female, my color scheme is female, my, you know, style is female. I mean, everything is female. So the messaging, the style, the packaging, everything is female. But, you know, I had to look at the actuals, which are all male, you know, and that's also kind of when I started saying, like, to myself, I almost had to intervene and say, green is green, which is sort of a quote, right? Which is the dollar is the dollar, right? And so, you know, I had to get very clear that why am I so obsessed with where the dollar comes from? You know, and to be honest, once I asked that question, the answer was very clear, which is that it does not matter. Right. And if you look at all the men following me, they're following me because they have daughters. They have little girls. They want their little 4-year-old daughters to be like me. And so I think at first I thought that, like, they don't understand their men, but then I realized that maybe they understand better than anyone, because they're raising young women, you know? And so I had to sort of change my perspective, that just because the data says certain things doesn't mean that I have to follow that. You know, and by the way, I learned this in school, Cody. I mean, as an industrial engineer, there were many situations where we had to analyze data and then write explanations in English. And so I remember, like, looking at stuff and sort of accounting for variances and, like, discrepancies, and being like, well, you know, it should be this way, but, like, it's not. You know, and so I think that's exactly the mindset that I've used in my media company now, where yes, it should be majority female. Yes, every single dollar for consultations, book sales, content strategy, we help small businesses message and monetize on social media. All of it should be coming from women, theoretically, right? But the data is not showing that. And so I have to rely on actuals, and I have to rely on sort of qualitative reasoning that maybe they're doing that because they understand women more than I think, you know? And so my original mission is not being diluted. It's just the execution is a little bit different than what I had in mind, but it's working. And, you know, a dollar is a dollar, which is sort of the quote that I live by now, is green is green. Because men have repeatedly told me that they're very picky about who they listen to. A lot of them have actually, you know, honestly told me they don't really listen to a lot of women. Like, they don't follow a lot of women online or whatever. And so, like, I'm going there going, okay, well, like, I clearly, like, met the bar for you. So, like, it's kind of amazing, actually. Like, it's kind of inspiring and awesome, you know, because it's actually maybe like a difficult market to have, you know. I mean, you're seeing this yourself. You're finding it hard to, like, have men followers and listeners and customers. And so I don't know, I think I'm the type where, like, okay, well, if it's working, wow, amazing, fantastic. And again, I want to be clear, it's not that women is not working, but, you know, we're at, like, what, 30% women, maybe 20, maybe 40, under 50, everything, purchasers, audience, all of it. So it's not like zero, but, you know, I have to go where I'm wanted, Cody. I mean, I gotta just say that, you know. And I think we were talking about this before we started recording. With women, there is a lot of, like, shame and trauma and, you know, I'm not a go-getter because XYZ, ABC. And, you know, I'm at the point where, you know, I can speak through some of it, but after a point, you know, it's difficult for me to deal with it, right? Because it's not my job to make you a go-getter. It is my job to motivate you once you have decided that you are already a go-getter. Right. And so I think I was running into some very difficult conversations with some women where it was just wall, 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 wall. And that's when I'm like, you know what? I can't do this. This is affecting my mental health at this point, you know, and I love you, you know, I have all the love in the world for you, but you know what? Maybe this is not for you. You know, so I think that's kind of where I am. And that's the one thing that I've learned in business, Cody. You can't force energy. You know, if someone doesn't want to self-identify as a go-getter, there is nothing in the world that I can do that would change that. And so I have decided that it is best to let it go. And it is best to focus on the 5 women who love me, who know me, who understand me, who empower me. And that is exactly what I've been doing. You know, because those are the women who pay me.
Yeah.
Those are the women who are so excited about being a go-getter. And yeah, maybe there's 10 and not 500. But you know what? I am very happy with the 10 because the 500 includes some very toxic energy that I don't have time.
And I'm with you. I think you hit it dead on the head as far as not having time for negativity. Right.
And also like not having time to like force like things.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not a go-getter. No, you are. Let me tell. No, I'm not. No, you are. I mean, at some point you have to let it go.
That's true. Do you find it like it's harder to convince people that? Well, I always say this. I said the problem with anything is that even when you have the cure to something, the patient has to first believe that they're sick, right? Yeah. So, you know, it doesn't matter if they don't believe that they're sick, right? Or they don't want to be treated, you know? So like, that's the two kind of barriers that you run into. It was a real shock, you know, when I started looking at my own analytics and I started realizing like who I thought was really listening isn't, and who kind of shocked me, you know, large base out in the West Coast, New York, LA, Atlanta, and then you start getting it, you know, down into it. And then it's, you know, 70%, you know, female, 30% male, you know, and it's you start really kind of uncovering those demographics. You start realizing that you're dealing with not just the millennial generation, but Generation X, you know, and like the generation ahead of us. And you start almost seeing yourself in a different light, and you're wondering what's sticking, like why is this sticking like this? But I had to come to a place that I was okay being me, you know, like I think earlier as far as go-getters, like you're trying to be a version of go-getting that isn't authentically you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So like I gotta be Kevin Hart. I can't be Kevin Hart. I love Kevin Hart. I think it's hilarious, but I'm over 6 feet. It wouldn't work. You know, so like there's this little things that, you know, you kind of have to tailor fit to your own unique experience.
Persona. Yes.
Yeah. So for you, what does go getting, you know, on a baseline definition, what does it mean?
Yeah, no, I mean, look, you know, I think you sort of have the perfect segue, which is I'm pretty aggressive, Cody, about achieving my goals, as you're seeing. And to be honest, I think that turns some women off, you know, that this is too much. You know, you're too much. I mean, you're working too much. You're too out there. You know, you're sort of celebrating all of your wins, and you're sharing your articles. And I know for me, you know, in the beginning, everybody was like, oh, you're a self-promoter, you know. So I realized that it is a lot for some people to like function like that. I recognize that like I could be too much for women, especially. I mean, men too, I'm sure. But, you know, I think but that is my definition of being a go-getter, which is being bold, you know, being aggressive, being out there, making that first move to go get your goals, being very unapologetic. That's why my memoir 26 ebook, which is out in ebook form now, is unapologetically Shinjini. Is not shamefully Shinjini, or just bashfully Shinjini. Like there's a reason why it's like, again, bold branding. So I think for me, like, it is a little bit bold, the way I live, the way I achieve my goals. I think it is fairly bold, and that's what I want from my audience, instead of like indecision and like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, I'm deciding between two jobs. So literally, like, my biggest pet peeve is like, if I ask somebody, it's like, hey, how's it going? Job search. Like, yeah, I'm deciding between two jobs. And I'm like, cool. So like, what is your criteria? Oh, I don't know. I'm like, okay, so like, we're gonna figure it out. No, I'm not sure. Okay. So, I mean, do you see how like that line of reasoning, again, I'm not saying that you can't make it, but I do think that it becomes very, very difficult to ultimately get to where you want to go if the answer to every question is, I don't know, and I'm not sure, and I'm still figuring it out. And so to people like that, when they see me, I'm sure it is very overwhelming that it is so much clarity, it is so much aggression, it's so much go-getter energy, that I think it probably is a little bit overwhelming, because they like, I just, everything is a struggle, and so, but to your point, I cannot live any other way. That's kind of what I'm coming back to based on what you said. This is how I've trained myself to be. I think it's because I naturally know what I want, and I know where I belong, and I know where I have to go. I'm actually still a very introverted person. So it's not like I just love, getting energy from everybody. It's not like that. Like, I'm still actually very introverted, basically shy, but I am very confident, and I have built that confidence over many, many years. And this is the only way I know how to function now. And so if you are, mad, I don't know, what's the triggered, overwhelmed by me, then, maybe you shouldn't follow me, is my new message, versus before, where it was like, oh my God, I, upset you. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. But now I'm like, what am I apologizing for? Like, I literally am just existing. And if that is like too much for you, then you don't have to follow me, and I think that is the attitude that you should take, that, your wife should take, your, sister should take, your parents should take. I mean, truly, like, now, if you're rude to somebody, or somebody's rude, that is like a different situation. But if you're just like, overwhelmed because this person is such a, aggressive achiever,
right?
To be honest, I'm at that point, Cody, where I'm like, listen, that's not my problem. It's not, I'm trying to help you up. I'm trying to help you figure out why you're not able to achieve your goals. And like, I'm trying to do that. And so that's what I'm trying to do. But like, I'm not going to quit my sort of energy and hustle. And by the way, there are many people like this in the media and in Hollywood who are just constantly like just climbing new heights. And I see that, and I see the difference between them and their colleagues who are sort of not as, whatever, driven, aggressive, go-getting, right? And again, people have barriers, I know, but at the end of the day, some people, it's still about getting it done as best as you can.
True.
In your own capabilities, with your own barriers, with your own, constraints,
right?
And so I think that's kind of where I am. So to your point, it's like, what does it mean it means being bold. It means making that first move to go get your goals. It means not apologizing. It means having two friends instead of 45, and
good.
I'm okay with that.
I don't have 45 friends, so two is good.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And I'm speaking your language too, Cody. I'm sure there are people in your life who are like, wow, Cody's always like hustling. He's always going. He's, he's too much for me.
You should read my LinkedIn comments. Like sometimes when I reach out, they be like, please stop. You know, like I don't think, for me, I think it's one of those, you have to first believe in yourself. You have to know that this is really who you are. You're not putting on a facade.
Yeah.
And then it becomes natural. And then the other thing is, nobody can love you better than you can love you.
Yes.
And I think when you get to that point when it's like, I'm okay with me, everything else.
I don't need everyone to like me.
That's it. That's it. Everything else becomes easier. So one last question. I appreciate you. You have been amazing. And, I want to value your time. I know how busy you are. One word of advice to all those who, are struggling, they want to be a go-getter, but they turn it off. They turn it on at the beginning of the new year. And by the summer, they're back to default mode. What would you tell that person?
Yeah, honestly, no, that's beautiful. I think, it's clarity. I mean, the more people that I interact with across my platforms, Cody, I realize that the number one thing that's missing is clarity. You don't know what your goals are. You don't know who you are. You're 45. You have no idea what job you want because you don't even know what criteria you're looking for. And to be honest, I'm not blaming anyone, Cody. I'm just saying that if you take 30 minutes a day, there are some questions that you will be able to answer. I think my concern is that there is no 30 minutes in a day dedicated to this. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Like, and we, like my media company, we do 1 hour go-getter consultations, right? So in 1 hour, 60 minutes, I'm sitting down with my clients and, they have various goals. So like, I want to write a book. I want to start a business. And I take them from, goal, sort of just, one day, to like action plan to reality, and I have clients who started YouTube channels an hour after we met and haven't done that for 10 years. Right. And so I don't know these people, Cody. I'm not friends with them.
Right.
Never met most of them, if not all of them. And so what I'm sort of challenging everybody is that if I can figure out your life in 60 minutes, and I don't know you, why can't you figure out your life in 60 minutes? And you know you. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Now, do I know that there are barriers? Absolutely. Do I know that there are varying degrees of privilege? Absolutely. I'm not denying any of that. I'm just saying that I want to see some dedicated time devoted to self-help a day. And at least the questions that I ask online very informally through DMs, the answers do not indicate that there's even 1 second being spent on that. Because if the answer to every question is, I don't know, and I'm still figuring it out, and I'm not sure, that tells me as a teacher that you haven't done your homework, right? I mean, because in school, if a kid is like, I don't know the answer to that, what am I going to say as the teacher? I'm going to say that you haven't done your homework, because if you did your homework, you'd know the answer, right? So, and that's kind of what I want to do with my media platform, is provide a very relatable, just angle to self-help. So I think when you think about self-help, you're like, oh my God, I have to help myself. I don't even know where to start. Oh, like I'm dying already. Whereas like I want young people, especially, which we have a lot of young people, to come to my media platform and feel safe and happy to explore themselves, which I think is actually a very revolutionary way to target self-help. So I think a lot of the self-help that even I follow, very, very dark, very, very depressing, very, very dark, a lot older. I mean, a lot older than like 20s. And so I'm trying to provide a very relatable, a really uplifting, very joyful method and way to self-help, which is sort of through this go-getter methodology. But truly, I mean, it's 30 minutes a day. Like, are you sitting down and asking yourself some questions? I mean, I have like journals for everything now. I have a romance journal. I have a daily journal. I have a, annual journal. So like, if I can spend some time every day figuring some things out, like, what are you doing? And again, maybe the answer to that will be, this is scary. I don't want to do that. I am terrified by what I will find. And there the question becomes, do you value yourself enough to value your goals, or do you not? because if the answer is no, again, I think it's going to be very difficult to move forward. And hey, I mean, if that means therapy to like value yourself, do that. Go get that, but we're having trouble moving forward if we don't understand who we are and what we need, and even in our consultations, Cody, I'm working with some clients who literally have no idea, who are like, I have no idea. I don't know what I want. And through the right questioning, I bring it out of them in 60 minutes. So if I can do that, and I don't know any of y'all, like I don't know any of you, then you can do that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just going to require some difficult questions. It's going to require sitting down. It's going to require no kids, no phone, it's going to require some work,
right.
But I think that to me is sort of the most achievable, thing. And I think if you ask yourself that, I personally think you will be amazed by what you find.
That makes sense.
Look,
yeah. Shinjini is amazing.
Yeah.
Connect with her, support her, connect with her on LinkedIn, Instagram, all her platforms. Matter of fact, I'm not going to tell her where her platforms are. I'm going to allow her to do that because she has been an absolute joy. I wrote down who we are and what we need to move forward, because a lot of people just need to move forward in life. So with that being said, Shinjini, where can they connect with you?
Yeah, Speaker Shinjini on social media, Speaker Shinjini, SpeakerShinjini across all social media platforms. And again, you're going to follow me to become a go-getter and to get motivation to go get your goals.
That's it. Connect with Speaker Shinjini. She is amazing. I follow her, and I don't just have everybody on here who I don't follow. I put people who I actually believe in.
I know.
She is fantastic. This is what you need in your life. I appreciate all my guests, and until next time, guys, thanks. Hey, what's up, everybody? You like what you saw? Were you entertained? Were you informed? We want to keep seeing amazing content. Subscribe at the link below. YouTube, CV Space K. You connect where all podcasts are streaming. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor. Connect with me. I want to connect with you. Let's enjoy the ride.